when a deal falls through, it's very easy to spiral, especially if it's a big one. But I've learned a couple of lessons. And by the way, this happens all the time. You've got to just let it be. And the last example I gave, I've nearly lost deals and then they've come through. But sometimes you actually do lose a deal. But what's important is don't panic, right? You need to consider certain points. You need to stay calm. You need to pivot, and you need to think logically, not emotionally. And the strategies that I use to detach just enough to think clearly and reevaluate is stepping away from my emotion, right? Because the emotions don't help. The emotions are not going to help you get a deal done. If anything, becoming emotional is going to prevent you from coming up with a solution. And more than that, becoming emotional can actually sabotage any chance of recouping that deal. When we get emotional, we can, go off at a client, we can go off at an agent, we can damage relationships, we can make rash, knee-jerk decisions which are not going to help us or our clients or the deal or anyone. So I always take a deep breath. And I call people that I trust because they're non-emotional about it. So I will call somebody and I'll say, look, this just happened. What are your thoughts? It's always good to get a second opinion from someone that you trust that is not emotionally invested in the deal. So that's my first bit of advice is call someone that you trust in the industry that gets it, that's not emotional, that can give you that perspective. Because it's hugely valuable. And also, sometimes people say, don't push against a closed door, right? So don't force something that's not meant to be, because if you're trying to force it through, it's not meant to happen, or at least it's not meant to happen the way you want it to happen in that immediate term. Sometimes you just step back and let it breathe. Let the buyer breathe, let the seller breathe, let everyone breathe, let everything breathe, and let things just sit for a moment. And we're not here to force anyone. We're not here to strong arm anyone. We're just here to guide people to get to the best result possible. And I think that's a very powerful concept when you think about it. Nothing needs to be forced. And deals happen. Sometimes deals don't happen in our own time. As a realtor, I find myself waiting a lot because things don't happen as quickly as I'd like them to happen. And sometimes for very, very good reason. So very important, take a step back and let things breathe. Take advice, take a step back, and then communicate smoothly. Don't be pushy. When you're calm, when you have conviction, when you've taken advice, when you've let the deal breathe, at that point is the time to speak with the client. Calmly, collectively, and putting yourself in their shoes. Because at the end of the day, it's very important that we get the best result for our clients. The other issue is preventing a deal fallout in the future. Of course, not every deal can be saved. Sometimes you let them go, but you'll get them back. But many can be prevented from falling apart in the first place. And, there's a number of strategies that you can use to help lower the risk. One of them is set realistic expectations early on. If you're taking a listing, if you're representing a buyer, even when you're negotiating, set realistic expectations. If you're representing a buyer and the seller is, emotional or difficult, or the other agent is difficult, just let your buyer know that it's going to be a slow play, right? Because what you don't want to do is avoid surprises. And if you've managed and set those expectations from the get-go, it's going to serve you very, very well going forward. Another one is always be the calmest person in the room. Now, day to day, I'm pretty, highly strung. I can, be stressed, et cetera, et cetera. But when I'm doing a deal, I'm actually surprisingly cool and calm and collected, because by being calm, by listening, you don't have to talk over people. And your biggest nuggets of help to get a deal done is going to be what you hear from the other side. And the only way you're going to hear the other side speak is if you are quiet. Silence is golden, especially in a negotiation. It's not all about who talks the most. It's not all about convincing people. It's not all about telling people what to do. Sometimes it's about sitting there and listening. because that's how you're going to hear the advice or the mindset of the other side. And only when you know the mindset of the other side and where they're at, are you going to be able to tackle the situation and deal with the situation to the best of your ability, and frankly, make sure the best outcome happens. Know when to bring third-party support. This is a big deal as well. Sometimes as a realtor, we can't answer certain questions. So what I do is I have a trusted circle of advisors, relationships, people that I work with, from lenders, mortgage brokers, attorneys, stagers, contractors, you name it. It's very, very valuable to have that trusted circle, because they're going to appreciate you potentially referring them clients, but at the same time, they're going to lend their support based on their expertise. We can't be the jack of all trades and the master of none, right? We are the master of our craft. We're the master negotiators. We're the master marketers. We're the master at hopefully knowing exactly what market we deal in, values, comps, with conviction. However, certain issues can arise which are just out of our realm, and defining those as out of our realm is hugely important. And there's nothing wrong with not knowing the answer to something. Sometimes it's better to bring the attorney in, because we don't want to put ourselves in a position whereby we're acting as an attorney when we absolutely should never do that. And frankly, it's okay not to know the answer to something. So again, I can call an attorney that I work with a lot, mortgage broker that I trust, stagers, if someone wants advice on, decluttering, making their house look great for photographs. So it's really, really important that we know that we can pull on those trusted advisors. And I recommend everyone out there have that circle of trusted advisors, that if they don't know a question or something's out of their realm, just pull those people in, because they can save a deal, they can help a deal, they can enhance a deal, they can create a better outcome all the way around. So very, very valuable.